Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. I'm Elliot Manning, the Managing Director of Cayman Recruitment. We're a rec-to-rec specialist in the UK and US. This is a US edition, and I'm joined by a very, very good client of mine. And Toby, I'll let you do your introduction.
Hey, thanks a lot. Hi everyone. I'm Toby Babb. Run Harrington Starr Group. Harrington Starr Group is Harrington Starr Financial Technology Recruiter, and we've got North Star, which focuses on the technology sales space. Looking to beef that out with another brand in the not too distant future. So watch this space with regards to how that's going. Based in London, in Belfast, and New York, which is where we're going to be focusing on talking about today. So
That's
yeah,
good.
lots going on, lots of fun.
Good. Look forward to it. Look forward to it. So, right, why the US, Toby? You know, you've had a very, very, and still have an extremely successful business in the UK, now in Ireland as well. Where did the US come into it, and why did you want to make the move over to there for the business?
I think that there's two or three main reasons for that. Number one is look. I think when you're running a business and you look at where opportunity and scalability and everything from deal value through to I guess frequency of deal and everything like that, then everything points to the US, doesn't it? There's a market that's probably six times the size of the UK market, which isn't. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this statistic, but I think there's probably about twice the amount of recruitment companies in the UK than there are in the States in general,
Yeah,
which is astonishing when you think of size and scale. So there's just a land of opportunity out there, and I think that's always got to be something which drags people out to that particular marketplace. Um, and alongside that as well, it's about people, isn't it? And when we first went out there, there was two fantastic people who were knocking at the door saying this is their vision and where they want to go. We were very fortuitous, and one of them was a US, had a US passport from being born out there, and the other one had his wife heading out to work with the Foreign Office. So all of that was taken care of. So we had a very, very fortuitous entry into what's going to be quite a tricky access point for numerous different people. So a combination of market potential and people, which is what you look for in any sort of investment at any sort of stage anyway,
yeah,
and general product market fit. And if we look at financial technology, if London isn't the tech capital of the world, then it's New York. So we needed to be in the two biggest areas. All of our client base was portable. So over there, if you look at North Star and technology sales, that's an even bigger market. It's the mecca out in the States. So realistically, it would be foolish for us not to be out in America and not to be really sort of putting everything we possibly can into making that the engine for growth for the next 5 years of the business.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you guys, for me, I mean, I started Cayman about 4 or 5 years ago in the States, and you were there established, and have been over there for now for quite some time. But have you seen a difference or change in the US market from a recruitment company owner perspective, staffing, just generalistic, view on how it's developed over the last 18 months? Has it changed?
Um, yeah, it's a really interesting. I think recruitment changes is never a changing beast anyway, isn't it? At the
Mm,
best of times. So we've seen fluctuations in the marketplace. Obviously, 18 months ago, it was still very, very difficult to get talent into the US, because of the pandemic.
yeah.
All of a sudden, and you'll know this better than I, but we're starting to see a lot more visa applications going through, an easier process potentially to get people back in again. And I think that's a game changer. There are challenges to accessing and bringing through pure US growth businesses, and I think there's a big opportunity for UK companies to sponsor and back people to go out there from the UK and build up those elements as well. And I think that's been a real help to us to be able to put both sides in play and see businesses grow off the back of that. So I'd say the predominant area of difference over the two is access to talent,
Yeah.
and how we've been able to bring talent back out into the US, from the UK and beyond. But alongside that, in the market, we've seen, probably the new, certainly in our experience, our New York team got hit more than our UK team did during the pandemic, probably because of level of experience and time in an industry, etc., etc. So that was difficult, but they navigated it really, really well. Then we saw it build, fairly progressively, and I think at the moment, there's probably been a little bit more aggressive cuts in certain parts of the states, but at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and the Nasdaq particularly got hit as a tech stock, and we saw a lot
Yeah.
of wobbles in the economic situation. There's a lot of volatility in the political system, but at the same sort of time, I think now this is one of the most exciting times I've ever seen in the US, I was talking to someone yesterday, completely separate from recruitment, but they were talking about their bets. And look, if you're looking at anything, and you're saying, well, where do you build your business at the moment? You're probably looking at the US economy in a time like this, because
Yeah.
they invest in strength, and I've got a very good feeling that the rest of this year and the start of next will see significant economic growth through people sizing up the opportunities and seeing where, as always, there are
Yeah.
opportunities for scale and growth.
Okay. I'm curious to know, so like you've established a business in New York. Did you ever think about opening up and setting up your office in a different state? A lot of the businesses that I talk to now are looking at trying to get their business over in Austin or in Miami or Boston or LA and different other locations itself. What's kept you within New York? Is it just the client side? Is it talent pool? Is there anything, real reason behind it or?
So I think the predominant thing you'll say is the client base.
Okay.
So as a financial technology recruiter, our clients are, New York is the fintech capital of the world, arguably.
Yeah.
So access to our clients, and I still believe, and I think it's going to become even more important over the next couple of years, that being, in relationships with your customers, getting out in front of them is going to be really, really important.
Definitely.
And I think it's an undervalued piece at the moment to say that you should be around and tactile with your customers at the same sort of stage. So the biggest part of it is client orientated. I think from a candidate perspective, if you're talking about building out your team, consultant perspective, and building out your team, it's definitely going to be a lot easier in other areas, and certainly on our roadmap over the next few years, we'll be looking at space as well. But the same squeeze for talent that you'll see in New York, I think, is starting to happen already out in Texas, where everyone fled to over the last few years. I definitely know that there's a lot of challenges out on the other coast, particularly around sort of San Francisco and challenges around that sort of area. So there's a lot of interesting spaces. You mentioned Miami beforehand, and I think it'd be really interesting to look at various pieces down there. I've heard a lot of people talking about Denver recently, which is another area. So, I don't think we're saying New York is us as our sole base. I think over the next couple of years we'll be looking to, again, led by people.
Yeah.
If I saw someone who's outstanding and based in Fort Lauderdale, and has a network, then you look at it. Belfast is a classic example for us. Just over a year ago, Belfast would never have been on my roadmap of where to go. Right now, it's probably it is the fastest growing area of our business. We're up to pretty much 10 people out there at the moment.
Wow.
And if I could have, ultimately, if there were more people in Belfast than there were in London, and they service the London market, then that would be a benefit to me for a number of different reasons: access to talent, quality of talent, competition for talent out there, and all those different reasons. There's a lot to be said for that. So, if the right thing comes at the right sort of stage, be it any state in the US, or even going up to where I'm seeing a lot of stuff in Canada at the moment. These are all things there where our eyes are very open to opportunity and people.
Yeah, no, look, it's an interesting one, and a lot of companies we speak to, they're trying to get themselves over into states that are, in my opinion, not necessarily right for what they do in their businesses, based on the market that they operate in, just purely because it's kind of like more, it's been spoken about, like Austin, for example. Everyone went over to Austin and they're still trying to squeeze themselves into that market, but it's becoming, in my opinion, a more of a saturated space to be, just like LA was. And then, everyone went to Austin. Now everyone's trying to go to Miami, and they all think that New York is not the place to be to an extent, but I strongly advise them that, get into these big states and compete, especially New York. It might cost a few $100s or whatever on tax, more so than other areas, but it's worth it.
100%.
And people just make the decisions based on kind of whatever people are doing to, more so than what they should be doing to benefit their businesses. And look, it's becoming apparent that, every other state in the US is growing massively across the recruitment market. So we're seeing people set up all over the place at the minute, which has been very interesting. But what are your suggestions to other recruitment business owners that are looking to get up there in terms of, challenges they may face, or, I guess getting the business set up over there? Is there anything that you came across and was finding difficult at the time?
Do you know what? I think the setting up of it itself was relatively straightforward, and I
Yeah,
don't, and, it's going back a couple of years, so I don't know if that's still the case. I know you do a fair amount, and you're a good advisor in that sort of area. So, if you've got yourself the right lawyer and accountant and right advice around it, to be fair, it was relatively straightforward. It's the boring stuff that I can't say I love throwing myself
no, of
into, but
course.
I've got people who are better than me at that,
Yeah,
at that sort of thing. But I think the predominant piece has always been about people, and that's why I love this industry, and I've always been passionate about this industry. Yeah, we will be successful in the US based on the quality of people we're able to attract and retain in
yeah,
that area. Our clients, be it in London, Belfast, New York, or beyond, are successful because of the quality of the people that we've got. And look, we had to kiss a few frogs over there over the years. And
yeah,
look, the big thing is we had a leader in the States who during the pandemic had to come back to the UK, and it left it fairly rudderless, and that was painful, and it was painful in a remote area where we had a bunch of people who were very strong unit together and bouncing off each other, and a sort of that sort of family bond, who were suddenly spread out all over town, stuck in there, not necessarily from New York itself, not with family around them. That's a really, really difficult situation
yeah,
to be in. And without question, I'm not afraid to say, to admit that we struggle with that. And then we've managed to get Adam in there, who I think is an outstanding leader. We've got a good team of people around it. We've got people who are coming through, with pace, and I'm loving seeing this sort of 2.0 version of the business coming through,
yeah,
where it will all be around the quality of the hires that we make, and keeping that talent density really high out there, and having motivated people who are seeing a team grow from here to here to here, and continue to push
yeah,
that further forward. So yeah, look, I think that the thing that we're probably a little bit naive to is that I am someone who is very easily excited by people who've got passion and enthusiasm, and
yeah.
a bit of razzmatazz and all that sort of thing. And when I first started interviewing Americans, it was kind of like every single interview was like out of a movie set for me, and I got more involved than I should about the passion and the enthusiasm that they were naturally showing in their sort of razzle dazzle nature of
Yeah,
American hires. And actually, when it was coming through, there were people there who I think weren't necessarily as strong as we had. So I would definitely say that if you can focus on that talent density, not hire them for what they've done in other businesses, which sounds obvious and naive to an extent, but really focusing on hiring people for the right reasons, that's going to be that to me is the single most important
yeah,
barometer between success and failure in going out to the States. Get yourself a good team, you'll fly. Get yourself a mediocre team, it might take a little bit longer. Get yourself a bad team, you might as well not go out there.
yeah, of course. And the thing, we see a lot of recruiters over there that are from multiple businesses that have recruited in such a different way to how we recruit. And they sometimes make you believe that they're doing the same thing. And ultimately, the way that they do it is in line with how we would want to do it. But when, and I do suggest to everybody, dig as deep as you can into their process and how they operate and what they've done to really get to know what they're capable of, and how you can then use that to work for your business rather than kind of sometimes disregard it. So it's just like
Yeah,
you said, don't look into what they've done, what they can do, and
yeah.
work with that. And what's your opinion on the whole split model of 180 recruiters doing delivery and people doing sales against the whole 360 model?
Yeah, so I think this is really interesting. So by nature, I've been a sort of 2 decade 360 kind of guy, and always pushed that sort of thing. We went out there with very much that model, and in both here and in the US, I think we sort of adapted to that, and recognizing where strengths are. Look, I don't think there's too many people, full stop, out there at the moment who are much more than 270 recruiters, full stop. Anyway, certainly not in businesses that have been around a little bit like ours. But it's playing people to their strengths. And look, there are some fantastic delivery people who you will just spoil by asking them to go out there and win clients and spend their time doing that. They'll lose their validation and not necessarily perform to the level which they can do because of it.
Yeah,
then there'll be people there who are very, very good with the client side, who get frustrated by talking to candidates, etc., etc. And I think it's and there'll be people there who are good at both sides because they want to do the 360 model. And I think there's got to be a little bit of flexibility around how you look at every single individual as an individual, and say what is the mechanism that is going to get them to play at their absolute best.
Okay.
And that's something which we're tinkering with constantly, seeing where it comes, what comes good, having people there who can manage the manage the accounts and work with the clients, and then pass it on, and having delivery people as well. It's a multifaceted sort of arena, and I think the days of saying, right, this is how you do the job and this is every aspect of it, and if you can't win business, then you're somewhat of a lesser human, and don't think that necessarily works either.
No, of course not. Of course. Why, I suppose when you're visiting the US and you're going out to see the team, do you see a difference in culture in the US team to the UK team and how they operate and how they work together? Is it very much the same kind of thing? Are you trying to keep the Harrington Starr model and North Star model the same across the continents? Because a lot of businesses that I've spoken to can struggle to keep it level, I suppose level and par in how they operate. So how's it with you guys?
Yeah, that's a great question, and look, I think there are nuances, not necessarily because it's a different geography, but I think there's nuances because of the fact it's a different size.
Yeah.
Despite the fact it's part of something bigger, it's a smaller team out there than it is in the UK, and it's less established, and it's got less client base, and it's a slightly different job out there. So I think if you try and force and say this is a like for like replica of a business out here, I think you've got to play to your strengths. And I love being, in honestly, some of my happiest times in this business have been when we started up as the underdog, and you're there and you're playing up against Goliath and all that sort of thing. I think just to give that same sort of camaraderie. It's the same as when I go out to Belfast, where it's a smaller team, and you go in there and see the buzz and we're building and growing. And I think you play to different strengths in different areas.
Yeah.
So look, should there be fundamentals of this is how we do it and who we are and what we stand for and our ethos and standards? Absolutely. But should there be a specific character to each individual office where you can say that is a US dynamic at the moment, and would that person who's flying over here be the perfect fit for something over there at that sort of stage, and vice versa? That's quite an interesting thing to play. So I think as a sort of bang the drum of a couple of times in this, it's treating things on an individual basis and treating people on an individual basis at the same sort of stage. So look, there's some DNA that runs through the business for sure. But I think if you walked into the two offices, you'd see some, you probably see good people fundamentally. So that's the given, that we've got good people as opposed to mavericks and dickheads and all that that sort of stuff. But then you'd see slightly different characters and different stages of evolution in both businesses at the same time.
Absolutely. And I know that obviously Rob spent a lot of time over in the States, on the ground, with the build out and looks after, majority of it. What's your thoughts and views on business owners and, from, different sectors spending more time in the States to help build the team in itself? Do you think it's a necessity? Do you think that, people need to spend 3 to 6 months out there to go and get, the ethos off the ground and the business where it needs to be, or it's easily kind of just led on the leaders? Where do you see that?
Yeah, so my view is that's wholly dependent on who you've got. And if you're going out there, if you're going out there without a leader, or you can't commit your time to going out there physically yourself, then don't go. If you're starting it with a couple of consultants and hoping for the best, etc., and to see what we build, then that's not an easy way to grow a business in any scenario. If you can go out there and do I think you can really sort of set a culture and build a team in 3 months? I think that's probably a little bit ambitious from it. So if you're going to go commit to it. But like I said, the lucky aspect for me is that Rob was going out there and could give at least 3 years to go out and set it up. I've known Rob for 20 years, and he'd run his own business, and I trusted him implicitly as as not only someone who I respected as a business owner and someone who run a good business, but also trusted him as a friend who I could give hand the reins to and the bank account to, and effectively say, go out there and you've got my full backing to do it. I'd go
Yeah,
out 4 or 5 times a year, give them everything I possibly could, speak every day. I think that the beauty of today is that Slack and other tools allow it to be a lot more accessible all the way through it. But I think it's all about that person and that leadership team that you can put in play there
definitely.
to allow it to grow.
And you spend a lot of time over there as well yourself, as well as the fact you've got a strong leader there currently with Adam, looking after the team. And I think it is important, to spend as much time over there pushing and driving and, really getting a hold of it as much as there is, leadership over there. It's nice to also have the business owners over there and the partners and the founders and the MDs and directors on the ground to kind of show their presence at the same time. And
Mm,
I don't see a lot of it with some firms, and it's a shame. And they're not getting where they need to get to some extent in some, unnamed businesses because they're not putting that time in. And as much as you tell them, they can't just leave it to people to just do it themselves. And I think
yeah.
they've got that drive. So yeah, definitely for those listening in, it's really important to make that happen and put that dedicated time into it.
Yeah.
Last question I've got for you. What's the plans for the business now moving forward? Hiring, growth, strategy. If you don't mind sharing that, where are Harrington Starr and North Star going at the minute?
Yeah, so from a US perspective in
Yeah,
particular,
for sure.
I'll focus in on that. So, look, we're if I look at every single area of the business where we've got opportunities to double and triple our business over the course of the next 12 to 18 months, the US is the obvious point of growth for us. So we're really excited about that. We've made some great new hires, and thank you very much for all your work in
Yeah,
in
pleasure.
that, in that, in that
You're welcome.
recently. And I think when you've got that and those guys are fully up to speed, then you've got the opportunity to double down on that relatively quickly. So very very much on the agenda in the short term, the strategy out there is to look at that and build it out very quickly. North Star is doing a significant percentage of its business now in the US, but it's
Yeah,
doing it purely from London. So we think there's an opportunity to put some presence out into New York or any, actually, to be fair,
yeah,
in North Star's instance, it could be anywhere across the states and see that build out. And we'd like to have a really solid BD presence out there, backed up by strong delivery as well. So we're really excited about taking that over in the next couple of months and seeing that start to build out in the US as well. So yeah, look, it's with a team that's growing in that sort of space, get them firing and continue to, we've got some brilliant new accounts that are coming into play. Really double down on those and make sure we're delivering off the back of that, bring in talents and to raise the standards every single time we do it. I want the people who are interviewing today to say in 2 years' time, there's no way I'd have got into this team at that sort of stage. It's continuously topping up that talent density and making it even better, even more exciting.
yeah,
And the scale, it's just so you've got enormous scale on both sides of those businesses. We've got the beauty of it is, the exciting part of it is despite the fact they're doing well out there, we've got a fingernail of the market share out there in the States. So,
yeah.
as I said, I used the phrase before, it's an engine for growth, and I would suggest that the next couple of years sees New York comfortably outstrip the sort of size and scalability of our European operations, and that's something that really excites me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I've never seen the US market of recruitment become so buoyant in the last, 18 months, 2 years since the begin, pandemic. In fact, I've never, seen so many businesses wanting to get themselves over there, and you guys have had a massive head start, and really seeing the growth and the success of it as well. So, look, Toby, I just want to thank you for your time and
It's a
the
pleasure.
answers. No, look, the answers to the questions have been extremely helpful. And for those listening in, if they've got any questions, I'll put Toby's contact on LinkedIn for you guys to reach out directly. If any recruiters are looking, wanting to get themselves out to the States, speak to Toby and the team over there. Happy to do an introduction and let you guys, have a chat and work things out. But Toby, I know it's it's now 25 to 8 in the evening here. I'm still working US. I don't know if you are. I'm sure you are.
I'm going back into them straight off after this
Back
one as well. So it's
back
the
into
beauty
it.
of it,
So,
isn't it?
well, that's the thing. When you work in the US, you've got to put the hours in. So, no, look, thanks very much for your time. Love working with you guys. Fantastic business, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Elliot, thanks ever so much. And again, look, I say you guys have been fundamental to all of that. You've done a fantastic job for us. So yeah, keep it up.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, mate. Thanks a lot.